Hey guys, Cooper here with MiniMotors USA. Today we're going to do a headset rebuild. If you ever get any looseness in your headset, there's basically two ways to address it. If the looseness is below your gear nut, I'm going to show you how to do a headset rebuild today. And if that looseness is above your gear nut, there's a simple adjustment screw. We'll also show you how to address that today. Here are all your tools you're going to need for your headset rebuild. We've got two new sets of bearings, two sets of bearing cups, a new gear nut. You're going to need a ratchet with a 13 mil socket, a 6 mil T-tool, a 3 mil, a 2. This is an 8. You're going to use this for your bottom bolt. This is a spanner wrench, which you're going to use to tighten and remove your gear nut. And we have a specialized tool for that, so I am going to use that today. And then this is our headset puller, which I'll use to remove the lower hinge. Last thing you'll need will be a little bit of heat. We've got a little butane torch here. Okay. If the play in the headset is above the gear nut, see this adjustment screw when you fold the stem? You can actually just back this adjustment screw out a quarter to a half turn, a really small amount, and that'll get rid of any play that you have above the gear nut. This customer's got their scooter in for play that's beneath the gear nut, so we'll show you how to go ahead and do a rebuild. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the stem, and that's where you're going to need your 13 mil socket and your 6 T-tool. We're just going to get This next step is going to be getting out this bottom bolt. This bottom bolt basically no longer threaded into that lower hinge. I'm going to bring over a small box that I'll place underneath that front motor so that when I get that upper hinge off, this motor doesn't drop off and just not have anything to support it and kind of stress or damage your motor wire. Okay, after you get that bottom bolt backed out so it's no longer threaded into your lower hinge, it's time to remove the lower hinge. First thing you're going to do is there's two small Allen screws that set in. You're going to use a 3mm Allen tool and remove those small screws on either side of the hinge. When we reinstall these, we use a little bit of blue Loctite stick. So you might be a little bit tough that first turn on getting these out. Okay, once you get those two pins out, it's time to pull the lower hinge. We'll get our headset puller and we'll get this thing out. We got those two 3mm Allen screws out on either side of the hinge. Now it's time to pull the hinge. First thing I'd recommend doing here is, just because this whole assembly is Loctited together with red liquid Loctite, is apply some heat. And we'll put that headset puller on and see if we can't get that headset off. So you just want to be really careful. I'm going to lower the scooter so I put a little bit of tension on that front motor so that there's no way it could pull out or stress the motor wire or anything like that. So we just got out that lower hinge. Now we're going to remove the gear nut. We have your lower hinge and your gear nut off. We're going to replace the gear nut, so we don't have to clean this one up, but the hinge is good, so we're going to reuse this. We're going to get everything cleaned up and get it ready for reassembly. Here's his bearings. You're going to see a lot of grease and dirt and grime buildup in there. It's okay, it doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. We are going to replace his upper and lower bearings, which he has on the lower side here, and clean out this assembly here, check our threading on this front swing arm. So we're going to get the bearings out, get everything cleaned up, get our bolts and our new gear nut ready, get red Loctite, and get ready to reassemble. Okay, we got your bottom bolt out. Bottom bolt ran through here. You can see the bottom bearings and cup. See how much we're gonna have to clean up this headset. And then his upper bearings here. We're gonna remove both sets of bearings. We're gonna clean off all of the grime. We're gonna make sure that his threading on his upper swing arm is good. And then we'll be ready to reassemble. We've got our bottom bearings into place. We've got our top bearings in place. We're just gonna position the front motor so that we can thread on the gear nut. And we'll be good to go. We're gonna put on a little bit of red liquid Loctite. We're gonna use this for a lot of the reassembly. And I'm going to basically go until I really would have to kind of apply a lot of pressure to get it to turn, or at least clench my hand and really push it there. Okay, I'm starting to get real snug there. Now I'm basically just gonna kind of feel for, that's about as tight as I want to go. Okay, we have our gear nut installed with some Loctite. We have our lower hinge all cleaned up. We're just gonna do the same thing and put a little bit of red Loctite here and get this lower hinge installed. Next part we're gonna do is we're going to put the handlebars stem back on, and what we're really doing is we're just making sure our bars are aligned straight, that our front tire and our bars are straight. Then we'll actually remove the steering tube, we'll put our pins in, we'll thread in the bottom bolt after we get the pins in, and your headset will be done. Okay, once we get that lower hinge in, we're just going to reinstall our bars so that we can make sure our bars are straight with the front motor being lined up. Now we're going to install these two pins on either side of the hinge. Okay, we've got our bottom bolt. We just installed red Loctite on here. We've got it ready to go with our lock washer. We're going to start to thread this bottom bolt into the lower hinge. Okay, we're just going to finish mounting our steering tube into place. Just get this get this nut on. And now all you have to do is reinstall your little grub screw. Okay. And now you're good. You just redid your headset.